As the glaciers melted over Summit County, Colorado, 10,000 to 20,000 years ago, the spectacular sculpted mountain valleys became visible. The glaciers not only carved out valleys, they also scraped and scoured the ancient granite and sedimentary rock to reveal the gold hidden in its stony vault. Tenmile Creek is one of those streams that carved its way down and through the Rocky Mountains. There is evidence of Native American habitation back perhaps 10,000 years ago in Summit County. First trappers, and then, when gold was discovered, miners, opened up this area to development in the 19th century. Gold was first discovered in 10 Mile Canyon in 1861. The town of Kokomo, on Upper 10 Mile Creek, was a big mining hub in the 1880s. A road up the creek and later a railroad testified to the early significance of the area. Wheeler Flats, where the rushing 10 Mile Creek slows as it crosses this high flat area, was home to a town and several sawmills in the 1880s. It's now the base of Copper Mountain Resort, and it's the area where a stream restoration project began in 2013. The result of the mining, timber harvest, and railroad and highway construction was a heavily impacted stream. The braided stream channel flowed over bare and poorly vegetated alluvium. Rich topsoil, wetlands, and lush riparian vegetation had been lost due to the impact of the early development. The U.S. Forest Service envisioned a restoration project to recover the natural channel's characteristics, the floodplain dynamics, and the wetlands and riparian vegetation that once existed along this stretch of 10 Mile Creek. Approximately 2,800 lineal feet of 10 Mile Creek was targeted for restoration, about a half mile. To raise the needed funds, the Forest Service approached the Blue River Watershed Group in 2010 to see if a team could be put together to accomplish the project. The Watershed Group accepted the challenge. The preliminary design, completed by Forest Service hydrologists, was reviewed and tweaked by the team developed by the Watershed Group and the Forest Service to manage the restoration. Ecological Resource Consultants was hired to bring its stream restoration experience to the project. Working with the Forest Service hydrologists and the Watershed Group, they developed a final plan. The design called for a winding stream channel with bends, pools, riffles, and gravel bars. The channel was sized to move water and sediment in balance with upstream and downstream flows, but also to flood periodically to support vigorous bank vegetation. Wetlands were designed to capture and store groundwater recharged by high flows. Essentially, the goal was to recreate a stream and floodplain closely resembling that which existed on the site before historic mining and development changed the channel in the years between 1890 and 1970. To pay for the project, the Blue River Watershed Group began seeking funds. The original gift was from Climax Molybdenum Company. These funds provided matching money for grants from the Colorado Water Conservation Board and the National Forest Foundation. Significant in-kind contributions were provided by Copper Mountain Resort and the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. With these funds in hand, the Watershed Group put the project out to bid to construction firms. The bids received were too high to allow the full project to be completed, so it was split into two phases. In late August 2013, construction began on Phase 1, the upstream portion of the area to be restored. The sequence began with diversion of the stream out of the way. Late summer is the beginning of the low-flow season, so this is easier to do than at other times. Then the new channel was developed via rough grading, placement of a natural layer of fine dirt, placement of cobble, and then growth media and a protective erosion blanket along the banks. Ecological Resource Consultants and TZAC Heavy Equipment out of Cannon City combined efforts to construct the in-stream work. They brought a talented crew of equipment operators with extensive experience in stream restoration. Phase 1 was completed in about 6 weeks of field work. This included significant revegetation efforts divided between 2013 and 2014. The Friends of the Dillon Ranger District helped in 2014 with willow transplanting. The revegetation efforts were successful, and there was substantial growth of the new vegetation in 2014 and 2015. The successful completion of Phase 1 sent Blue River Watershed Group back to fundraising. As grant applications were being prepared in 2014, spring runoff brought some surprises. Water completely topped one bank and flowed directly down an area that was to be an oxbow. It should be noted that the banks are intended to be topped during high flows, filling the natural riparian floodplains. However, in the newly created areas without established vegetation, soils eroded. A second bank also was damaged by the high flows, resulting in a vertical cut bank. After careful assessment of the two areas, it was decided that the area where flows topped the bank would not be repaired. It would remain as an alternative secondary channel to accommodate extreme high flows and would likely grow in over time to resemble the wetlands called for in the original design. Leaving this area open as a high flow safety valve seemed like a smarter course of action than attempting to armor it in place. The second bank clearly needed to be repaired. The bank was fixed later that summer with the assistance of Copper Mountain Resort. Evaluation of Phase 1 showed that some design modifications were needed for Phase 2. More extensive modeling determined that sequences of riffles and pools like those planned for Phase 1 would not be maintained over the long run. High water flows would wash out the pools, destroying the fish habitat. It was determined that more localized, micro-habitat pools, created by large boulders and wood logs, would be more self-sustaining. Due to fundraising issues, construction was scheduled for 2015. Phase 2 funding again came from Climax Molybdenum Company, the Colorado Water Conservation Board, and the National Forest Foundation. Copper Mountain Resort and the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District again volunteered significant in-kind contributions. The construction of Phase 2 began in August 2015. Ecological Resource Consultants and TZAC Heavy Equipment once again did the construction. The same team of experienced and talented specialists and operators that had been involved in Phase 1 did Phase 2. Anyone who was able to spend any time in the field during construction had to be impressed with what these operators could accomplish with their equipment. Once again, there was considerable revegetation of disturbed areas. Additional shrub planting was completed in July 2016. Some of this work was again done by the consultants under the terms of their contract with the Watershed Group. Again, the willow shrub plantings were completed by the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. This revegetation effort is important to the overall success of the project because the vegetation provides stability to the banks and riparian area. Construction activities again went well. There were some issues in one area with utilities crossing the stream, but they were solved with only minor delays. This time construction was more visible to users of the new bike path that was constructed in 2013. The stream restoration and the bike path upgrade and extension had always been planned as part of the same overall restoration of the area. They had different construction sequences because of fundraising issues. Still, it was encouraging to see the bicyclists stop and watch the stream restoration activities during Phase 2. Projects like this are successful when the participants work together. Ecological Resource Consultants was effective in bringing together personnel from the Forest Service, the Watershed Group, TZAC Heavy Equipment, Copper Mountain, and others like the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. The work was done in a collaborative manner with appropriate attention to detail to make the project successful. A special vote of thanks goes to Climax Molybdenum Company for its early support, which was a real boost in subsequent funding requests. Projects like this are not easy to do. The Forest Service in the days of old would have completed this project in-house. That is not possible in today's environment. Still, it should be noted that it was the Forest Service that used this project to show that it could still do its job even without adequate appropriations. It worked with the Blue River Watershed Group to form a coalition that worked collaboratively to complete a significant restoration project on Forest Service lands.